the last few minutes, our Adam Schefter and Jordan Renan are reporting the Giants are expected to start Jameis Winston on Sunday against the Packers rather than Russell Wilson. Bear in mind, Jackson Dart suffered a concussion in the second half of Sunday's loss to the Bears. He is still listed as their first-string quarterback, but Jameis Winston has supplanted Russell Wilson in second string, and assuming, and I think it's a reasonable assumption, that Dart is not able to play this weekend, it's going to be Jameis Winston starting rather than Russell Wilson. And we thought this was worth mentioning briefly here for the following reason. Not so much for the impact that it will have on the game. But I remember you and I having a conversation towards the end of Russell Wilson's time in Seattle, in which we discussed that it looked like when Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were going to be sort of going into retirement, that the league was going to become Russell's league. And it never happened. Nope. All these young guys came and supplanted him. Now we had what can only be described as a disastrous tenure in Denver, a bad little stint, certainly nothing special in Pittsburgh, and now this whole thing in the Giants. How, if at all, do we think that is going to impact the way we remember Russell Wilson and potentially even his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it certainly impacts it. Quarterback winning a Super Bowl and getting to another Super Bowl, I still think he has a good chance and having some really impressive seasons. But I think we're going to remember the end of his career because it's been a long, kind of ugly process for him. We're going to remember this as a big portion of his career. I think it's going to be very difficult. With time, maybe some of that stuff will erode and we'll think back to him being that young quarterback who kind of was at the beginning of changing the way that rosters were constructed. Like, he was a pivotal quarterback in the development of the league, but I do think that these last several years are going to be like how we think of him as a player. Is like how it ended is going to be more important than the success that he had.
I was an alternate voter for the Hall of Fame, no longer am. I would say bragging. In that room, hey Flex, in that room, alternate voter. In that room though, it's going to be voters who decide they're going to present, can you write the history of the NFL without this player? I don't know if you can or you can't with Russ. I will say this, he had 9 Pro Bowls in 10 years and went to 2 Super Bowls and was the Walter Payton Man of the Year for many years in Seattle. If he had retired as a Seattle Seahawk, I think we probably would have said he's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
I don't know if we hold these last few years against him.
That's a well-made point. And obviously, if they give the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the end of that Super Bowl, he's a 2-time Super Bowl champ.
And maybe 3 times and 4 times, and we're talking about a different situation altogether.
What gets me is, remember not that long ago, he threw for 450 yards.
Against
We're
the
like,
Cowboys.
I thought Russ is cooking.
Right.
Let Russ cook. It's crazy how quickly things change. I really thought he had recaptured something, and then it felt like fool's gold after a while.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a shame. Russ is always going to be equated, obviously, to the Legion of Boom, and there's going to be many people who use the defensive prowess of those football teams against him as well to kind of make an argument against him. Look, he's been the consummate professional. It rarely does end the way you want it to. It really does end at a high. I think for Russ, I think we're doing him a disservice if we continue to just point to some of the issues that he's had at Denver, at Pittsburgh, and now at the Giants, and not really kind of celebrate this man for the career he had in Seattle, which I remember when he came out of Wisconsin.
Yep.
I remember just how good this guy was and how he did change the paradigm of how you build football teams.
If he has taken his last snap, how would we remember it? Meanwhile, the Giants have other things they're concerned with right now, like searching for a replacement for Brian Daboll, whom they fired on Monday. 6-time Super Bowl champion and now North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick, who famously once said, "We're on to Cincinnati," was asked about the opening yesterday.
When you got here, you said you're not coming here to leave, but as soon as the Giants job came open yesterday, your name got thrown out there. I'm sure it will with other NFL jobs. What is your message to players, to recruits? I'm sure people are asking you about that who want to come to the program.
Yeah, getting ready for Wake Forest. That's all I got this week.
Has anyone asked you, or the players or recruits want to know about your future?
I mean, I've been asked about it from time to time, but yeah, look, I've been down this road before. I'm focused on Wake Forest. That's it. And that's my commitment to this team. And next week it'll be to our next opponent and so forth. But, I'm here to do the best I can for this team.
2 things. One, a reminder for anyone who needs one. Belichick has a long history with the Giants. There's a reason this comes up. He started his career there. He has maintained a very close relationship with a lot of people there, particularly in ownership. Second of all, that was the first time in the longest I can remember that he reminded me of Bill Belichick. When the question is longer than the answer, we're finally listening to Bill Belichick talking. That's the Bill Belichick you want to hear. And the truth is, if this had happened a year ago, or if Bill hadn't gone back into coaching and was still doing McAfee and all kinds of stuff and showing you how great he was with X's and O's, I think he would be at the top of everyone's conversation about this job, and now I don't think it will even be a consideration.
Yeah, I think, look, and that's because of all the other things that are surrounding him right now and all the other things that are distracting people away from what is actually his core competency, which is coaching high-level football, which is really what the NFL is all about. But see, you know what? We also know it's about image, and right now, you're right. There's going to be a lot of people who go, I don't even see the coach.
Right.
I see all the other things that are surrounding you right now. I see all the other people that are surrounding you right now. And so, look, I think, look, it's probably safe to say that his time has passed in the NFL, that the NFL is on to bigger and, I don't want to say better, but to bigger and different and newer things. I don't even think it'll be a consideration at this point, quite honestly.
The NFL spoke 2 years ago when one team interviewed him.
Right.
It was the Atlanta Falcons, and they chose Raheem Morris over him. Then last year, I think it was an image rehabilitation quite a bit on television. Everyone goes to North Carolina. Remember, he hates the Jets, and he had people reach out to the Jets to see if they would give him an interview last year, and they weren't interested. So I look at it as he's going to obviously be interested in the Giants, whether he says this or not. I would think the history is enough. If any team would be warm to be them. But I don't think the Maras and the Tisches are looking for the circus that it's become.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it was clear in his answer that he is not opposed to it. Like, he was not direct about this at all. He did his cutesy thing on the Wake Forest. We had it on in Cincinnati. It kind of felt like Bill Belichick was doing a Bill Belichick impersonation. Right. Because we know that he's no longer, he doesn't seem like that same person that he once was. But it seems like, to Peter's point, and the same thing that Lewis said, the league is not, like, he's going to have to put together a year or two of stability and success at Jeff's alma mater before the NFL comes and knocks at his door.
Everything we knew Belichick to be was a guy who was anti-distraction. It's about, do your job. And now that we've seen him over the last year or so, especially at UNC, sort of the kind of, I don't want to call it a circus, but everything around him, whether it be 60 Minutes interviews and stuff like that, it just, all these reports, it just is a lot. And it takes away from the core principles of who he is as a football coach. But listen, the league is going on. Like, they want, who's the next young guy out there? That's what they want.
Yeah, I mean, what Kim, I mean, I agree. What Kim is saying is the number one thing that everyone revered him for, which was that absolute just like robotic approach to and commitment to winning. Now that's kind of all been like washed away. And now he doesn't have that to fall back on. And now teams are going, so what's the attraction?
Right.
It's been an interesting year, to say the very least. As we continue, we'll stay in that division. We are back on Get Up, bottom of the hour. Next stop, Philadelphia. The Eagles are 7-2, coming off a win, or they're getting set to host the Lions, I should say, on Sunday, coming off their win over Green Bay on Monday night. Yet another workman-like win for the Eagles, who have landed very few knockout punches this season. You know what they've become? They've become last season's Chiefs. They're 6-1 in one-score games. Those six wins tied with the Broncos for the most in the NFL. The last time the Eagles and Lions faced off was Week 1 of 2022. So it's been a long time since they've met. This certainly has the feel of what could be a preview of the NFC Championship game. It's what we all thought the NFC Championship game was going to be a year ago, and then Detroit had all those injuries. But Nick and Jeff were here yesterday, and we talked a lot. It's a fascinating way we talk about them. It's just like Kansas City last year. We kept saying over and over again, this offense isn't good enough. Right. This offense isn't good enough. And they just keep on winning, and they wound up in the Super Bowl.
It's slightly different than Kansas City, because Kansas City was trying to do more and was incapable because of injuries and other issues. This team, we look at them and say, you can be so much more, but they have decided that this is the way that they want to play. And it's working, so it's hard to be critical of it. But I suspect that when they get to the playoffs, when they get to these games, I don't think they're going to approach the game in the same way. They're playing right now not to give the game away early and then win at the end. When they have to play the Rams in the playoffs, they're going to come out there with a scheme that's more designed to create explosive plays, I believe.
Jeff, how do we explain that this team had the A.J. Brown, who Randy Moss tells me he thinks is one of the 5 most talented receivers in the entire NFL, that he has 3 targets, 2 catches, and 13 yards in a low-scoring affair at Green Bay. How do we explain that?
No risk it, we still get biscuits. That's how they explain it. No risk it, we still eat biscuits. And they keep winning, and they don't care. Nick Sirianni, just not this year, 6-1 in one-score games. I think he's got almost a best record in the NFL, in the history of the NFL in one-score games. They understand how to win, and they don't care about how they have to win. Some players may get frustrated, but they understand winning. And if you don't have to risk it, to your point, they've scored over 30 points in 3 different games, okay? If they got to have it, they'll drop back and go throw that. But if they don't have to have it, there's no reason to put themselves in a position to lose a game in the first quarter as opposed to play games tight, understand they're going to put the other team to make the mistake, and they'll take advantage. And the truth is, when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who doesn't seem like he ever really gets frazzled, he plays within himself, does what he's asked to do, like you said, very workmanlike, they go win. And we hate it because they can win without doing what everybody at this desk, except for me, wants them to go do. They ain't got to go throw it around, bro.
Right.
If you got to go throw it around, go throw it around. If you don't, and continue to win games. If it costs them games, I would be in the same camp as you guys are. I understand at the end of the day, it's about W's and L's getting back to the Super Bowl. They are a very good football team, only getting better. And Saquon's let me tell you something. There were 2 or 3 plays the other night that could have went for 60. And that did not happen early in the season when you saw those lanes getting closed. They were very close. Those explosive plays come back. Now we're talking about a completely different team. And now, will it happen because all the line keeps getting banged up? But they are
we would not be having this conversation worrying about the Eagles if A.J. Brown wasn't subtweeting, subposting, or bringing up the lack of targets, because the record is what it is, and they're doing just fine. But I will say, if they want to get A.J. Brown involved more, I'm surprised that it hasn't happened. Like, what's the issue? Is he just not getting separation and Devontae Smith is? Are they just not scheming him open enough? Are they not looking? Is Kevin Patullo, does he just not want A.J. Brown to get off? Like, go off? I don't think that's the issue. But when you look at Detroit, for example, Dan Campbell said, listen, we got to get Jameson Williams going. Like, we have to get him going. And guess what? He got 6 catches on 7 targets, 119 yards, and a touchdown. So if you want, there's no reason it can't happen unless, I don't know what the disconnect is, but I just feel like if A.J. Brown said, you know what, I'm good, we're winning, we would not be talking about the Eagles. We'd be happy for the Eagles. We'd be like, this is a team that they're winning the hard way. They're winning every which way. But instead, you got the number 1 receiver upset about targets.
Look, I get your point, Jeff. Okay, it is about winning. It is about stacking W's, and then it's about getting ready for the playoffs. And if you're telling me that the Eagles could then just kind of flip a switch, and all of a sudden the game plan can change, and you're producing those explosives out on the perimeter like it's just nobody's business, then fine. If you're telling me you can do that, that's fine. And I understand that this team is constructed differently than last year's Kansas City Chiefs teams, where we sat here and had the same discussions all year long. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, they didn't have the horses to kind of like flip a switch.
Right.
They didn't. So you knew it was going to come home to bite them at some point in time. With the Eagles, look, you know you've got him there. But can you keep him in the fold? Can you keep him locked in? Can you keep him dialed in so when you do need him? Because in the postseason, you're going to need those explosives.
Agreed.
You are not going to be able to just count on the fact that we're going to win 13-10. We're going to count on somebody screwing up clock management like they did with the Packers and take advantage. You cannot count on that in the postseason. Now, so that's the only thing that worries me is get him going at some point here. Let's not wait until the divisional round of the playoffs.
The offense is concerning because of the fact they couldn't generate points there. I would say to all of our points, they've won in Arrowhead, they've won in Lambeau, they've won in Tampa when it was 110 degrees out there. They are stacking these wins against NFC opponents so that they put themselves in position to be at home in a much cozier setting than maybe going on a crazy road trip for 3 weeks.
That's what makes it so confounding. That's why I'm the host of a talk show, and I sit here and I feel ridiculous saying, what's wrong with the Eagles? They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They're 7-2. Eyes telling you something's not right.
I think I'll say this one thing. It's like A.J. Brown is getting closer to that age where receivers no longer covet the same attention. He is not playing that way, though. So, like, you see him out there, he's still the same A.J. Brown. And I think part of the target issue is because the opponent still respects him like
For
he's A.J.
sure.
Brown. They still roll coverage to his direction. Like, I rewatched that game. They double-team A.J. Brown while Devontae's making big catches. A.J.'s getting that attention. So, like, I think that they still should get him the ball, find ways, and I think that's kind of the difference is most teams, even if you're going to double Justin Jefferson, we're going to move him, we're going to do this, we're going to create some way to get him the ball. Throw him screens. The thing, they're not doing that for A.J. Brown. As he gets closer to that age, as they're more focused on Devontae, I think that's a hard thing to accept.
Can I ask you a question? Because this is a great point, what we're talking about. If you looked at the touchdown that Devontae Smith scores, they're moving coverage towards A.J. Brown. And so Devontae gets free, gets on a safety, and scores a touchdown. When you're talking about that, they're a very simple offense. So
here's this play quickly.
Okay,
so what you're saying is the coverage was focused on A.J., and that's why Devontae's one-on-one.
Right. So he gets up on the course and gets in and scores a touchdown. But my point is this, so they run a very simple offense. They don't do a ton. So when you're talking about moving him around, doing all these things, is that getting outside of what they're comfortable with? Let me tell you something. Because when you start moving players around to different places, your protection, there's a lot of stuff that changes. It doesn't just go as simply as everybody says.
I understand, but the argument would be there's going to come a time when you play somebody that you're going to have to do something creative.
Right.
If you have not practiced doing those things.
But I'm saying we don't know that they're not. We don't know that they're not.
And
we just know they're not
let me tell you
calling
exactly why you're going to need to do that, okay? Because, look, this is a very analytical football team that is driven by numbers, okay? Hembo just sent me this. Okay, last year, explosive play differential was plus 45. You know what it is right now? It's 0.
Yeah.
That is going to come home to bite you unless you're telling me we can just turn it on when we're ready.
Yeah.
When we're ready to dial up 11, we'll just dial it up.
I can tell you where that difference comes from. Cindy, show us C10.
C10.
The difference C10 is the difference. It's because it's Saquon Barkley. Last year, Saquon Barkley averaged 125 rushing yards a game.
Right.
How many explosive plays did they create in the running game? And how many times did we say it? There's nothing better than that because it is an explosive without any risk attached to it whatsoever.
Right. Yep.
This year, look at the numbers. They're literally half that. There are no explosive plays in the running game. So, and what that means is, in order to create them, you have to be willing to take some risk. And
why
so
is
far,
that?
it hasn't caught. Well, you tell me why.
I don't know. No, I mean, it's like rhetorical. I don't know why.
I mean, I think the honest answer is because at the beginning of last season, they were more aggressive offensively and they were turning the ball over. And they said, we're not doing that anymore. And they started handing it to Saquon, and I think they were fine with the trade-off of not getting the explosives. Then all of a sudden, Saquon going for 50 yards every single game, 1 or 2 plays. They're like, we got the best of both worlds.
Right.
And they never needed to. Then they get to the Super Bowl, and they stop the run, and Jalen Hurts goes off. And so that's the evidence that they have. That's why they look at people like me who say, you got to be more aggressive. We'll do it when we need to.
You know what? There it is. There it is, what you just said. They believe, you would assume they believe when they need it, we'll dial it up.
They've done it.
Don't worry about it. We'll dial it
They
up.
made the necessary moves at the trade deadline.
No,
They get Jalen Phillips. He makes the big play on defense.
Oh, that's a pretty damn good trade.
Those are
really
the things they're doing where they're putting themselves enough, I guess, cushion here. We're like, we've got other ways to win if we have to. They hope for the next few weeks they'll figure it out.
Go ahead, Kmart.
This conversation is painful when I think about the Eagles because it's like we are dissecting a team that's 7-2 right now?
Yeah.
And they're the defending Super Bowl champs. Like, it just feels like last year, too many turnovers. We killed them last year for Jalen Hurts, need to protect the football. Now they're not turning it over. And now it's like, oh, well, there are no explosive plays. Like, at this point, the regular season is you want to get home field, you want to get that top seed, you want to set yourself up for the postseason. This is a team, at some point, can we give them the benefit of the doubt? Because we have seen them do.
I want to say this, though, because we did the top 10 quarterbacks at the beginning of the season, and people were like, Stafford should be ahead of Hurts. And it's apples and oranges because you would no way say that Hurts is having a better season than Stafford right now. And yet, for that Philadelphia Eagles team, Jalen Hurts is the man, and they're 7-2, and that is their guy.
But you know what? I mean, we're in the business also sometimes of trying to project future performance, too. Because, like, if this comes home to bite them in the postseason and people go, wait a minute, I never saw this coming. Oh, maybe you did. Maybe you did. As opposed to when you look at a team like Seattle where people are going, hey, you know what, we're not quite sure about Seattle. It's Sam Darnold. Do you see some of their offensive efficiency numbers? They're off the chart. So if they wind up going to the Super Bowl and winning it, people are going, damn, how the hell did they do that? Well, it was on paper all year long. They've been doing it. That's kind of the discussion here and why we're having this.
Games like this week where Philly is going to play Detroit will show you Detroit is explosive offensively, right? We got Jameson Williams back in the fold. We're going to hit, we're going to do these things. Gibbs is going to get some touches. We're going to do these things. What does Philadelphia do to match it? Like when they went and played the Vikings and they knew they were going to get blitzed, they threw the ball around. Like I'm interested to see what they do. Like these are the games, and for what it's worth, they've won those games this season. Like so that it'll be another test to see do they pass it.
They have the best problems of any team in any sport.
It's so beautiful.
These are the problems you dream of having.